Hello, in this video we'll be looking at the first issue of Warhammer Imperium magazine. We'll be looking at the 2 models you get with this issue and then learning how to play the game Warhammer 40,000. Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And today we're bringing you issue 1 of the new Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. And in this issue we've got a Space Marine Primaris Lieutenant and a Necron Royal Warden, as well as a small battle mat, a range ruler, 6 dice, some wound markers, and 6 objective markers. So everything you need to play a game. So we'll do a quick overview of the magazine contents and then play through the game included. If you want to skip straight to that, there'll be a time code in the description, and also there will be chapter bars. And this is how we'll do all the videos, so we'll start with a quick overview and then go straight into the game. So, having a quick look through the issue, first up we have some background on the Primaris Lieutenant. So, he sees that they are veteran Space Marine officers. This one in particular is a Blade Guard veteran. He goes over his equipment and his heraldry and the kind of iconography he wears. So he has a muscular power sword, a storm shield and a neo-volkite pistol. On the back of that page, we actually have a battle record, so we can actually give him a name and some titles and name his swords and that sort of thing, and a little record for his deeds. And there's some background on the Royal Warden, so these are sort of minor nobles that act as battlefield commanders for the Necron forces. Normal Necrons aren't sentient, but these ones are capable of independent thought, so they make perfect lieutenants and bodyguards. And again, it goes over his weaponry, his relic Gauss blaster, and some of his iconography and markings of his rank. And once again, here's a battle record, and give him a name and some of his quirks that Necrons seem to get. What we'll probably do is we'll roll randomly for their names and use those in our games. And then background on the Space Marines themselves. So these are elite genetically modified humans, also known as the Angels of Death or the Adeptus Astartes, the most elite of the Imperium's forces. You can see an assault intercessor here as sort of frontline melee troops. And then on the next page we learn about the Emperor of Mankind himself, who once led a great crusade to unify the scattered human worlds, but now in the 41st millennium he's little more than a corpse being kept alive by his golden throne, a very arcane bit of machinery. We also learn about Roboute Guilliman, who is one of the Emperor's Primarchs, who are the sort of progenitors of the Space Marines. So the Space Marines are all, essentially their DNA comes from a Primarch, and Roboute Guilliman is the leader of the Imperium's forces now that the Emperor is not able to do so. And also it notes that Space Marines are divided into chapters, each with their own heraldry and their own particular way of fighting in war. So you have the Ultramarines there, so the ones Roboute Guilliman is the Primarch of. Also the Silver Templars here, who are in the previous Warhammer 40,000 magazine, Conquest magazine. And some background of the Necrons. These are a machine race of androids who spent the last 60 million years asleep but have recently started waking up due to natural disasters or alien beings trespassing on their worlds. And it's rumoured that many Imperial worlds are actually built above Necron tombs. And then it notes that they were once a race called the Necron Tier, who, in order to try and win a war they were losing, they made a pact with some ancient star gods to exchange their physical bodies for machine ones, but in doing so a lot of them traded away their souls, which is why a lot of the lower ranked Necrons are no longer sentient. And the Necrons are actually divided up into different factions called dynasties, each with their own hierarchy and quirks. And it also mentions the Silent Kings, who are the original rulers of the Necron Tier. And it notes that Sarek, the last of the Silent Kings, was the one who ordered the Necrons into their stasis chambers, but now has begun to try and reunite the Necron Empire. That's not all for the lore included with this issue. We also have this fold-out insert. This goes over the War for Ramesses. So this is the system that I mentioned most of our battles will be taking place in. This is one of the systems in the Pariah Nexus, which the Necrons are invading, and it notes that the Zarakan dynasty is setting up these strange pylons that seem to disrupt space travel and kill living beings. And the Space Marines are trying to stop them because the Ramesses system is full of natural resources and has some Promethean refineries there. Of particular note is Megaria, which is where our first battle will be taking place on, which is an industrial moon, one of the moons of the gas giant Gliantha. And over on the other side we can see some of the forces involved in the first battle of Megaria. The Necron forces over on the left and the Space Marine forces over on the right. Well, we will get most of the Necron models. We don't think we're getting all the Space Marine ones, unfortunately, but it's just a nice little preview of what's to come. And here we have a build guide for our two models. So first up we have the Primaris Lieutenant, where it talks about how to clip pieces off the sprue and then how to push them together, so you don't actually need glue to put this model together. Although you may want to use glue just to make sure he stays together. And I would definitely recommend using clippers. You can use a hobby knife, but clippers are much easier and safer to do so. I believe if you are a subscriber you should have some clippers. If not, you can probably buy some separately. And also, since we've got two different base sizes, it notes that he uses the 40mm base here, and you can check using this circle and that is the correct size. And on the next page again it has the build guide for the Royal Warden. It also notes to be careful with his linked cloak, just to make sure you don't snap anything off, and note that he uses the 32mm base. And here it mentions painting Citadel miniatures. We don't actually get any paints in this issue, but we will in the next issue along with a brush. These painting guides are set up for beginners, so we'll see basic step-by-step guides. And you don't actually have to paint the miniatures. If you just want to play with them bare plastic, that's fine. But as it notes on here, painting your models does bring them to life. It sort of helps you create the world, makes it feel more real, I guess, as opposed to just being game pieces. And here it goes over the Citadel colour system. So usually you begin with base coats with base paints, which are slightly thicker, so you don't need to apply as many coats. And you go over with a shade to help add depth to the models, highlights with layer paint. And then technical paints are things like this texture paint here. There's also things like blood and rust. Then you add extra details, and here you can see some finished ones. So these are what you'll probably end up with by the end of the magazine. And with all of that over, we can get into the game for this issue.
So now that we've been through the magazine and had a look at our new miniatures, we can find out how to use them on the battlefield. And here we have an introduction to the game of Warhammer 40,000 and what sort of game it is. And it says that over the course of the Imperium collection there'll be a series of story-based missions that will teach us the rules and play through the story that is detailed in the magazine. So on the next page we have an overview of the things we need to play the game. So obviously you've got the models and the magazine and the battle mat, range ruler, the dice and the wound markers and objective markers, all of which came with the magazine, and you can see the picture of them there. And here we have a backstory behind the game for this issue. So this battle is going to be fought on the industrial moon of Megaria in the Ramesses system, which we saw earlier. And in this case, the Necrons have already invaded the moon and started to transform it into an alien fortress. And the Space Marines have descended to the moon to fight them. A key location has been identified, which is a repair station beneath the surface of the moon. If the Ultramarine Space Marines can prevent the Necrons from repairing their warriors, then they may yet be able to stop the invasion. And here we have a mission briefing for both sides. The Royal Warden has awoken in the heart of the Necron repair complex, but the Space Marine assault has damaged some of the facility's systems. So he has awoken and he's attempting to activate the facility's repair nodes to repair the damage. Whereas the Ultramarine Primaris Lieutenant, he has entered the complex with some of his brothers, but after an attack they get separated and so he finds himself alone, but discovers the Royal Warden attempting to do something and resolve to stop him. And now we get on to the actual rules that we will need for playing this game. So you can see here we've got the setup for the board. We'll see all this properly in a second, but there are 5 locations on the board, and you place the 2 models and 3 objective markers as shown here. And then we have our datasheet profiles which describe how these 2 warriors will fight. We've got movement, which is obviously how far they move, BS or ballistic skill, which is how good they are at shooting, wounds, which is how much punishment they can take before they die, their save, which represents how good their armour is at protecting them from harm, and then their ranged weapons that roll a certain number of dice to attempt to do damage to the enemy. I won't go through these in any more detail than this, because we'll see how all of that works as we get into the game in a moment. And obviously these are, if you're familiar with the rules of Warhammer 40,000, you'll see this is actually a very basic system here. Obviously this is designed for beginners to the game, so it's quite a simple introduction at this point, but more rules will be added as we get further on in the magazine. There's then a little tutorial about how to move the models, how to use the dice and what the results mean, and how to track wounds on your models. But again, we'll see all of this in a second. And then to guide us through the process, we have a step-by-step game played through here. So the Necron player gets to go first, and then in this order they can move the Royal Warden and then shoot at the Primaris Lieutenant. So in this case he can move up to 5 inches, which is his movement distance. Probably ought to try and head towards an objective marker, which we will see the relevance of shortly. And then he can shoot following the procedure here, which is basically roll the number of dice given for his weapon and then compare them to his ballistic skill, and any that beat the roll required score a hit. But again, we will see that in the game in just a moment. And here's an example here in this picture of moving towards one of the objectives and firing his gun. And then if he scores any hits, then the Space Marine gets to make his saves to see if his armour protects him. And these are by rolling against his save roll that we were given before. And if he takes any wounds, then you use a wound marker to mark this. And there's again another example here of how that works. And then on to the Space Marine player's turn, and the Lieutenant really doesn't have anything to do other than move and shoot, because he is not trying to do anything with the objectives, he's just trying to kill the Necron. His turn works in exactly the same way, but he just has slightly different characteristics. And again, there's an example here, you can see him moving up and shooting with his Neo-Volkite pistol. And then if he scores any hits, obviously the Necron has to take armour saves in the same way and may take wounds. But then, once the Space Marine player's turn is finished, we move back to the Necron player's turn, and the Royal Warden needs to reach the objectives, and if he does manage to reach one, he can roll a dice, and if he rolls a 5 or more, the repair node activates and the Necron player wins the game. But if he rolls a 1, 2, 3 or 4, then the station is broken and you'll have to try and find another one. Or alternately, if either side's model is destroyed, then that side wins the game, so obviously that's the only way the Space Marines can win, is by destroying the Royal Warden. But that's it for this little overview. As I said, it will become quite clear what all this means as we play through the game, so you can just refer back to this and see how it all works. So here we are under the surface of Megaria, and you can see we've set up the board as directed in the scenario. Here, so we've got the Necron Royal Warden in the top left, and the Space Marine Primaris Lieutenant in the bottom right corner. And we've also deployed the 3 objectives across the centre, as you can see there, 1, 2 and 3. And for this magazine, Mike will be playing the forces of the Imperium, including the Space Marines, whereas I will be playing the Necron forces. And you can see we have fully painted both of our models, but as we said in the intro, you don't need to paint them at all to play this game, it just makes them look nice for the camera. And we have painted them to match our existing armies of Necrons and Space Marines, and these are different to the scheme that the magazine will teach you to paint, but of course you can paint your models however you like. And the Primaris Lieutenant you'll also notice in the colours of the Silver Templars chapter, which we saw in the introduction. We'll talk a bit more about all that at the end. And we did roll off camera to give these 2 models names, using the tables that we had earlier in the magazine that we saw earlier.
Yeah, so we have Royal Warden Hachette facing off against Lieutenant Varro Cassian.
We didn't roll for any of the equipment names or titles or epithets or anything.
If they do anything noteworthy, we'll give them names. They need to earn their titles.
Yes. With all that set up, we can get going. So the Necron player gets the first turn, and as following the example in the magazine, I'm going to move the Royal Warden 5 inches towards Objective 1. So just place this down here and move from the front of the base, measuring from the front, and then placing the front over here, 5 inches, but obviously that isn't enough to get him to the objective this turn. And then he gets to shoot. So as it says in his profile, he has 2 dice with his relic Gauss Blaster, and his ballistic skill is 3+, so I'm looking for 3 or more on these 2 dice to hit. So we've got 1 hit, because a 2 is not a 3+, so 1 hit on the Space Marine Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Cassian has a 3+ armour save, which he made, so he is not wounded.
But if he had rolled less than a 3, he would have taken a wound. But that is the end of the Royal Warden's turn, because he's not in range of the objective to do anything. So on to the Space Marines.
Yeah, so Lieutenant Cassian gets to move 6 inches, once again measuring from the front of his base. You can measure from the back of the base, as long as you measure to the back of the base as well, it doesn't actually matter, but so he can move up like that. He also has 2 shots with his pistol, but he hits on 2s instead of 3s, so he gets 2 hits.
And then the Royal Warden has a 3+ armour save as well, so you're needing 3s to avoid these. Made both with a 5 and a 6, so he takes some hits but doesn't take any damage. And then we're back to the Necron turn. Definitely less than 5 inches to this objective, so I'm just going to move him up. So we're going to shoot again, so we've got our 2 shots hitting on 3s. Got 1 hit again.
3+ save for Lieutenant Cassian. He made it with a 3.
And then at the end of the turn I get to roll to see if this station will activate the repair nodes. So and I need a 5+ to do this. If I get a 5+, I win the game. I do not, so I do not win the game, and objective marker 1 is removed because that one is not working, so we'll take that away. And then we're back to the Space Marine turn.
So I don't need to measure, I'm just going to move to here, just to make it inconvenient for the Necron. Since the models cannot move through enemy models, he's going to have to go around me to get to that objective. And then I'm going to shoot at him with my pistol, hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
And I get 2 armour saves, needing 3+. Well, I failed one with a 1, so we're going to take a wound. The magazine suggests you use the wound counters that it comes with. We have always actually used dice to mark the number of wounds, and we've always marked them as being the number of wounds left rather than wounds taken, just because that's what we're familiar with. So we're going to carry on doing that, but it's actually also easier to see on camera than the markers that they supply, so we're going to...
And we like to count down as well. But you can always count up, just use whatever method you prefer.
Yeah, so he has 4 wounds on his data sheet, and he's taken a wound, so he's down to 3, which is marked there on the dice like that. But yeah, that's the end of the Space Marine turn. So we're going to want to move towards the objective, but yes, unfortunately the Space Marine is blocking my way, so I can't get there this turn anyway. So we're going to move 5 to here, try and go round him, and then we'll try and shoot again, so 2 dice needing 3s. We've got 1 hit once again.
3+ save for Lieutenant Cassian. He failed as well, so he has 4 wounds remaining because he's slightly tougher than the Royal Warden.
But I'm not touching an objective, so I can't try and activate one, so on to the Space Marine turn.
Yeah, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stand and shoot. 2 dice hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits again.
And 2 dice needed to save. Oh dear, roll a 1 and a 2, so I've actually failed both of my armour saves. Takes 2 wounds and goes down to 1. But then it's back to his turn, so we'll move round him this time. It's definitely less than 5 inches to touch the objective, and then we'll shoot. So we've got 2 shots hitting on 3s. Oh, we've got 2 hits, finally, on the 4th attempt.
Oh, I failed both as well, so Lieutenant Cassian is only down to 2.
Then I'm touching an objective at the end of the turn, so we'll try and roll a 5+ again. Nope, so this objective is not active either. So we take this objective away.
The Space Marine's turn. Lieutenant Cassian is going to move 6 inches towards objective number 3. Try and block off the Necron. And going to shoot at the Royal Warden. 2 dice hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
I need to pass both of my saves because I've only got 1 wound left, so if I fail, he will die. Oh, there we go, I've got a 1.
So Hachette is killed before he can reactivate the repair nodes. And then there's a Space Marine victory. So we'll probably play through this a couple more times, see if the Necrons can win.
So we're back, we've set up again as we were before, and we'll have another go. So straight on to Necron turn 1. I'm going to try a different tactic this time. I'm going to try and go for objective 2, because I can get there before Lieutenant Cassian can. So we'll move to there, can't quite reach it, and then we've got our 2 shots, hitting on 3s. We've got 2 hits.
And 3+ save, I failed 1, so Cassian's down to 4 wounds. And then it's his turn. Yeah, we're going to be a little bit mean and go and try and block off the Necron from objective number 3, I think. So moving 6 inches and then shooting at Hachette, getting a single hit this time.
Yep.
Because I got a 1.
So a 3+ to save. No, I failed. So down to 3 wounds.
And it's his turn.
So we can obviously move on to move to touch objective 2, and then we'll shoot before we get to the node. We've got 1 hit.
3+ save. Made it, so Cassian's fine.
So then we do get to try and activate the node at the end of the turn, needing a 5. Oh, I did, I got a 6 this time. So he manages to reactivate the Necron repair systems, and the Necrons win the game on this occasion.
The more Necrons begin to awaken, the Lieutenant has to withdraw.
So this time we had a Necron victory. We'll do a best of 3, so we'll set up again, and we'll see who can win overall. So the decider, I'm going to go first again, obviously, and I think that technique obviously worked. I think going for number 2 is clearly the right tactic, because I rolled a 6, that's definitely how this works. And then we've got our 2 shots. Hitting on 3, so it got 2 hits this time.
3+ save for Lieutenant Cassian, he made both, so he's fine. And on Cassian's turn, I've still got a good feeling about blocking off objective 3, so I'm going to move 6 inches towards objective 3, and then shoot at Hachette, needing 2s, only getting 1 hit.
And doing 3+. No, failed his armor save again.
Down to 3 wounds, back around the Necron turn.
Okay, we'll move up a little bit again to touch objective 2. I'll try and stay close to objective 1 though. And then shoot. Needing 3s, getting both.
3+ save. Well, failing 1, so down to 4 wounds for Lieutenant Cassian.
And then we'll try and activate the node again, hitting a 5. Nope, this time number 2 is not any good. So take that one away, and back to the Space Marines.
So we're just going to move all into objective 3, and I think I can effectively block it off from the Royal Warden. So hopefully he doesn't activate objective 1. Shooting at him again, needing 2s, getting 2 hits.
And needing 3s to save. Oh, we've made both this time, no damage. We're going to go for objective number 1. Ever so slightly too far away, it's just outside of 5 inches, so we're going to end up basically there, nearly on the... just shooting then. So 3s, getting 1.
3+ save, made it. In the Space Marine turn, we're not going to move, we're just going to keep shooting and hope that he doesn't activate the objective. 2 shots hitting on 2s, 2 hits.
2 saves. Failed 1, down to 2 wounds. Then we'll move a little bit just to get onto the objective, and shoot. Got 2 hits. 3+
save, failed 1, so Lieutenant Cassian is down to 3 wounds.
And then can we activate objective number 1? Nope, we cannot with a 4, so this objective has to go away as well. Yeah. Which might leave me with a bit of a problem, because I'm not sure if I can get to objective 3, so we might just have to kill the Space Marine instead.
Yeah, I don't think you can touch the objective base, because you can't get off the board, and you can't move through me, so on my turn, Lieutenant Cassian is going to stay where he is, and continue shooting at the Royal Warden, getting 2 hits.
2 saves, failed 1, down to 1 wound. Then we'll move up, moving to there, and we're rolling to shoot. we've got 2 hits.
2 3+ saves, made both. Once again, not going to move, and just going to shoot the Royal Warden, hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
2 saves. Oh, made both. And we'll move up 5 inches closer, and shooting. We've got 1 hit.
1 save, which he failed, so Lieutenant Cassian is down to 2 wounds. And then it's Lieutenant Cassian's go, so he's going to shoot at Hachette again, hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
2 3+ saves. Oh, failed one, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Hachette is slain once again, and
Space Marines, I guess, claim the victory 2-1. I think we'll set it up again for a 4th time, and we'll let Lieutenant Cassian go first this time, just as a bit of variety as well. We'll see if that makes any difference. So we're back again, but we're going to let Lieutenant Cassian go first. He's managed to seize the initiative this time.
Yeah, he's managed to ambush Hachette. So we're going to move towards the middle again, like we did in the first game. Shooting at the Royal Warden, 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
2 saves. Now he's taken a wound already, so before he even has a chance to act, he's down to 3 wounds. We're going to go for the middle this time, because otherwise Space Marine will be able to block me off, whereas I think from here I can always get it wherever he goes. And 2 shots hitting on 3s, getting 1.
3+ save, failed, so Cassian's down to 4 wounds. Then it's his go, so just going to move to make it inconvenient for the Necron, and then shoot at him, hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits.
3+ saves, made both this time. So bending the range rule around slightly, I've got plenty of movement, I can get within. Go here, so I'm just touching it there in the hope that I can reach objective 3 next turn. But we'll shoot, hitting 3s, getting both.
2 3+ saves, failed 1, so Lieutenant Cassian is also down to 3 wounds.
Oh yes, and then we roll to see if the node activates. On 5, nope, so take the objective away.
In Cassian's turn, he's going to move 6 inches. He can get to here, I think, about that far.
Means I probably can't get to the objective in my next turn.
Just to block off the Necron. And shooting, hitting 2s, only getting 1.
3+ save. Succeeded, no damage. You definitely can't get all the way around, so we're actually going to go this way, because regardless of what I do, if I go for that direction, it can be blocked off again. And then we'll shoot as we move away. We've got 2 hits.
3+ saves, made both.
It's Cassian's go.
Yep, so he's just going to stay where he is and shoot, needing 2s, only getting 1.
3+ save. Succeeded. And then move to the objective. 2 shots on 3s, getting both.
3+ save, made 1, failed 1, so Cassian's down to 2 wounds, he's losing the shooting battle.
And then we'll see if we can activate the objective. Oh, we did, on a 5. So this time the Royal Warden managed to activate the repair systems again. That's another Necron victory. So yeah, I think we'll leave the game there. That's we've played this through plenty. You can see how this is going to play out now. So now we're going to do a brief recap of everything we've had in this video and give you our thoughts on all of it. So we'll see you in a second. So that was issue 1 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. Well, what did you think of all that?
Yeah, I do think it's really good for beginners, and having a model for each faction means you can actually start playing the game straight away. And obviously on a small board you can play it on the floor or a kitchen worktop pretty easily. I don't want to compare this magazine to Conquest and Mortal Realms too much, but I do like that just having a single model aside. With Conquest, it's just 3 Space Marines, there was no game for that issue. And then in Mortal Realms, you actually got quite a lot of models, so it actually probably would take a fair amount of time to actually put them all together before you can start playing. So just a model aside, you can get in really quickly. And I do like that it's maybe a little bit more complex than Mortal Realms was, because it has objectives and saves. It's not just whoever gets enough hits wins. And I do like those objectives. It makes objective games do tend to be a little bit more interesting than just kill your opponent.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is actually a very good scenario for beginners in general, really. I don't think there's too much to remember. There's kind of a little story behind it, so you know what you're trying to achieve as well. It's not just a sort of we're all lined up and we're going to try and kill each other. It's not a particularly intricate game. The victory condition is either you kill the opponent's model or the Necron has to just roll a 5 objective. It's also not clear what happens if you try all 3 objectives and don't roll a 5. Presumably you just then have to kill the lieutenant in order to win.
And these units have much more complicated rules, which we'll eventually learn with the magazine.
Yeah, just enough rules to make it interesting, but not too many that it's going to be overwhelming. In these very simplified rules, actually, on average, the Space Marine should win the shooting fight, just because he has an extra wound and he hits more often with his 2+ ballistic skill. But the Necron should be better at shooting when we get his full rules. His gun is more powerful, so it's not quite so bad.
Yeah, there's a little bit of scope for tactics, like which objectives you go first, or moving to block off your opponent, that sort of thing.
It's also quite a nice little board we get. I guess it's a good size for beginners. Yeah. It's a little bit bigger than the one we got with Mortal Realms.
And it is double-sided, so I'm sure you don't want to spoil the other side until it shows up. And I will know I do like that it comes with wound markers, because if you're coming from the perspective of someone who's never played a tabletop wargame before, they are kind of handy to have just to mark wounds instead of needing like coins or anything. You need as few things as possible outside of what you get with the magazine to play the game. You don't need anything else, I don't think.
No, it's true. As we've seen in the preparing for the battle section, I think everything on the list is provided.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose a pair of scissors to cut the objectives out. That's about it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I'll also say I quite like having the battle records for the two characters. I mean, we've only just gone for names. If they do anything particularly heroic or noteworthy, you might give them titles and naming their weapons. But I do like that it's encouraging you to forge a narrative around these two armies, because I do think one of the draws for this sort of hobby is forming a narrative for your army. It's encouraging you to make it your army. They're not just a Space Marine army. They're your Space Marine army or your Necron army. And we'll probably try to talk about larger strategy for units we get in the magazine, and both of these units are very solid choices for both their armies. Lieutenants make his Space Marines around him slightly better at killing things, and the Royal Warden makes the units around him slightly more mobile. So they're definitely solid choices for both armies as well.
Yeah.
And talking about the magazine going forwards and stuff like that, we're not going to follow any of the painting guides, because having fully painted models looks nicer for the camera, and we're going to be painting the models to match armies we actually have. So if you watched our Conquest series, I did the Silver Templars for them because they were made up for that magazine, and I'm going to continue doing Silver Templars. So if there's any rules that use Ultramarines, we're just going to pretend they're Silver Templars in that case.
Yeah, we did see them in the lore section at the beginning as well. So and then mine is just painted to match my Necron army, which is not the dynasty they're going to tell us to paint in the magazine, but again, yeah, we'll just follow the rules as given in the magazine. And obviously at this point, if you're new to this, you won't have painted either of these miniatures at all. They'd just be bare plastic, but in the next issue there you get the first paint and a brush and start on the journey towards learning to paint miniatures and get progressively more paint as the magazine goes on and more advanced techniques.
Oh, and also, if you want more of these models for your existing Space Marine or Necron army, it's still fairly good value as well. Very good value, because normally characters like this are quite expensive. Yeah. Can't actually buy these separately, though. I think they're only part of the Recruit Edition starter set, but still.
Yeah, and I do like these two models, actually. They face off quite well, actually. They're both kind of looking the same, in the right way for that to work. And hopefully when this video goes out, at least in the UK, this magazine should be on sale for another 10 days or so in shops, and it's a very good price if you want these two models. And overall, if you do the whole Warhammer magazine, the contents you do get a very good saving on everything that comes over the course of the magazine. But we'll go into more detail on that as we get models, particularly the ones that are good value issues as well. So we'll mention those when they come up. We're not actually getting this by subscribing to Hachette Partworks. We're doing it through a news agent, so hopefully we should be able to do these weekly once they start being weekly. That does mean we're not going to get any of the premium stuff, but I would say the premium stuff, you do get more models for your money. I think it's something like an extra £150 or something for the premium subscription, and you get more £150 worth of models that way, and with the extra tools and stuff. Yeah. I think that'll be it for this video, and I'll look at issue 1. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to see more. We will be carrying on with these videos in this vein, hopefully for all 80, just what we've done for Conquest and continuing to do for Mortal Realms. Let us know your thoughts on the issue, models, the rules, anything you have to say about this magazine. That would be interesting to hear in the comments below. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.